Hello guys! I wanted to make a great video today talking to you about how we can strengthen our immunity and stay strong during this crazy time that we're experiencing on this world with this whole coronavirus situation. You know, it's such a crazy and wild times out there that we're experiencing, and it's just really sad to see so many people living in fear and being so stressed out. You know, and so I've been trying to make this video for a couple weeks now, and I keep redoing it because I keep finding out more information that I want to talk about and share with you guys. And so I've decided I want to break it up into two parts. And then if I have to make a part 3, I will, you know, to add to it, because I imagine as we keep going through this whole transition, you know, as the planet's changing and shifting, you know, through all of this craziness, that there'll be more always to talk about, you know. But I wanted to first start off this first part of the video talking about, you know, what is, you know, viruses, you know, what helps our immunity to become stronger, what makes our immune system weaker. You know, it's a very complicated situation and a subject for so many to understand, because, you know, we were never really taught how to live in a way that is, you know, conducive for good, strong immune systems in the first place. You know, what is our immune system? Our immune system is a system in our body that helps us to stay strong when we encounter different things in the world that are foreign to our body's natural ecosystem or symbiotic, you know, relationship that's going on in our body. And the biggest thing that affects our immune system is the exposure to chemicals these days. You know, chemical products we use around our homes, you know, for beauty care products and cleansing products and medications and antibiotics and hand sanitizers and all of those things. I know that, you know, the big thing that people are trying to use to fight off this virus is those sterilizing agents and those chemicals. And a lot of people don't realize that only is making it worse. That's only making our immune system weaker, you know, because why? We are actually more bacteria than we are human. We have more bacteria cells in our body and on the outside of our bodies than we do actually human cells. We have over 200 trillion cells of bacteria that live on the inside of our body, mostly in our large and small intestines. And a lot of them live on the outside of our skin too, to protect us from things we encounter in the environment. And see, if we use things to sterilize our skin, you know, like antibacterial soaps, Lysol, hand sanitizers, you know, those kind of chemical sterilizing agents that they advertise kills 99% of the germs, well, it's also harming your good bacteria too. And it's making your system imbalanced. And it's also polluting our system. It's also stressing out our body. It's weakening your immune system because it's trying to send out thousands of white blood cells to attack that foreign substance. What's so hard for most people to understand is there is two different ways to look at it. You have the germ theory, which all of your normal American Medical Association and those kind of people want to continue to fight the germ and just to prescribe and treat and give treatments and drugs. Or you have your naturalist people that are trying to use natural remedies and products and herbs and essential oils, and that they believe in the terrain theory, you know, which is, you know, it's all according to the terrain of your body on whether or not it's going to be a hospitable environment for that virus to be able to thrive in the body. You know, and that really is the truth. And the reason why the Medical Association does not want us to understand or want us to believe in that method is because 30% of all pharmaceutical medications, you know, work like a placebo pill, and they just want us to not realize that we have so much control over our health through our lifestyles and our thoughts. And they want to keep us stressed and worry and have anxiety, because just doing that, we're easier to take their medicine and their poison, and easier to be controlled, and easier to let them pass laws and things that, you know, even take away more of our freedoms freedoms and our, our ability to choose what we want to do with our own bodies, And so that's another reason why I just hope that you guys can find some peace and you can not let this fear affect you too bad that's going on in this world, because I find it very sad, because that's a huge one that we have to start to eliminate and to reduce. And we even have to be careful of the fear that's being generated in our environment, or the loved ones that we're around, our families, our friends, our communities, the countries where we live. There's so much fear in this world right now. And so that's why we need more nature. We need more time spent in nature where we can let this fear come out of our bodies. We need more deep breathing exercises, more meditation. See, the deep breathing exercises are very vitally important because a lot of this virus is dealing with the lungs and the respiratory system, because that's where it thrives at. Because it's very similar to the flu symptoms, to flu, and it gives a lot of people similar flu symptoms, and so we have to look at it like, how would you naturally help your body's immunity and your body to overcome, this condition, and I'm going to be talking about it in part 2 about the different things we can do to help us to overcome that. Just right now, I'm talking about more things that have got us in this situation and the reason why some people are having problems with this and some people aren't. Okay, let's talk about that for a minute. If you look at all of the people that are having really bad problems with it, that are dying, it's the people that have really weakened immune systems. It's whether it's your elderly or it's people that have had majorly immune compromised conditions from medications, from surgeries, from transplant surgeries, and they've had to be on immune suppressant drugs. There's so many different things that people have experienced or went through in their lives that have hurt their natural immunity. And those people are the ones that are very susceptible to having issues with this. And so, but also we have to understand that those people that eat these kind of diets that create a terrain inside of our body that's favorable for viruses and bacteria to thrive. Because did you know that these viruses cannot live if there's not enough protein and fat to feed them? So all these people on these high fat and high protein diets and eating all this, these animal-based products and these processed foods and these really high processed sugary foods and things like that, that's just the reason why that these viruses are thriving in their bodies, is because they're eating a type of diet that is the kind of diet that viruses and bad bacteria thrives in. It's the same type of issues that people can have problems with flesh-eating bacteria. It's the same thing. And so we have to look at that, because it's very ironic how that one area of China, Wuhan, China, the Wuhan province, they've had the most problems with this virus because that just happens to be an area where they were having this meat market where they were eating and selling certain animal-based products that really we should not be eating, even if you were to eat animal-based products. Like they're eating bats and rats and cats and dogs and snakes and all this stuff that's just not clean. And it's it's a wild jungle products. It's not as clean as some of your animals that have been raised in a good healthy way. But even that, even just eating those kind of animals, that's still not good for our bodies, and it's not good for us to be eating any animals. But that's one of the reasons why people are having more problems with that, is because they're eating more unclean animals. And that's the reason why they're having more issues with that, and eating more pork and stuff like that. The unclean animals, there's definitely clean animals and unclean animals. And so, did you know 70% of your viruses come from the animal exposure through agriculture and through eating those products in the first place and being around them and handling them and, things like that. Like the swine flu and the bird flu and all of these things, they come from being exposed to these animals and to their animal products and things like that, So, and then, of course, like I was mentioning before, we use too much of the sterilizing agents because we think we have to fight off the germs, and we use too much chemicals, and we treat and suppress the symptoms so much, when a lot of times our body's trying to naturally detox from eating a lot of these foods. And that's why we'll have bronchitis and mucus and sore throats and fevers, and all of that is good things. We don't need to be taking medications and products to suppress those symptoms. We need allow the body to do its own process. Like a fever is a good thing. A fever helps burn up all of that excess of bacteria in the body. And we don't need to take medications and products to stop the fever. We don't need to, bronchitis is the body's way of releasing mucus and trash from all that congestion from eating too much animal-based products, especially dairy, too much oily and greasy foods, too much high-fat foods. That is our lungs' way of detoxing out all of that excess of mucus and congestion and acids from the buildup of the lymphatic system. And did you know that your immunity lives in your lymphatic system? That's your sewer system. And so when you have a dirty lymphatic system, you're going to have a weak immunity. So that's again an example of the reason why I'm trying to help you guys to see or to learn that we have to look at the way nature works naturally, and the reason why things can get so out of balance like this. And it's because people aren't living in a symbiotic relationship with nature, and when we're using too many things that go against nature, like too much chemicals and man-made chemicals and things like that, that are just really messing up the balance, the symbiotic relationship and the balance that we have, in the world with these things, And so those are the main things. And then I want to talk about, those are the main things as far as like the diet and the lifestyle and those kind of things. But now I want to talk about the electromagnetic frequencies and how they have an interference with our body's ability to have a strong immune system. There's lots of people talking about the 5G and how we can be exposed to 5G and how that's going to affect us and make it worse. And they're actually saying that's one reason why China's having such a problem with it, is because they've released 5G over that area of China. And that Wuhan was one of the first areas where they let it, be completely released and all over that whole region. And some of the symptoms of 5G exposure are very similar to the symptoms you get from flu. And it affects our ability to absorb oxygen. They say that it keeps the oxygen molecule, it spins, see, it's at 60 hertz, the 5G is at 60 hertz frequency, and that makes the molecules around the oxygen molecule, it makes them spin too fast, and it makes it hard for our lungs to absorb it. I can't properly explain it to you because I'm not a scientist, but I'm just trying to remember some of what the video I've watched on it has talked about, how that it just pretty much the 5G interferes with our oxygen absorption of our bodies. And also, just overall, being too exposed to electronics overall really affects our body's performance in many different ways, because our bodies are very sensitive to electrical frequencies, because that's really all we are. We are electrical beings that are putting off energy and vibrating energy, and when we have man-made energies, that interferes with the natural frequencies that we have that are coming from our bodies and from our thoughts and our emotions and our feelings, and also the relationship we have with the Earth's natural frequencies, like the ones that are very good for us that we need to bathe ourselves in. And that's why grounding is so important, is the energies of the planet, like the moon, the sun, the stars, the sun, when we get sunbathing, the ocean waves, when we go to the beach, when we go to the creeks and the waterfalls, all of those frequencies are very good for us. And that is why our bodies are so sensitive to those natural frequencies, is because we're supposed to have that relationship with that energy, with that frequencies. But when we are exposed too much to these man-made frequencies that humans were never intended to be exposed to, especially for long term, then it starts to cause us to have many different symptoms and side effects and problems that we don't even understand and we're not even aware of that's going to happen, because we keep creating more and more different frequencies that are affecting with our bodies in an unnatural way. And so that's the problem, is that we're having too much bad exposure to these frequencies. Well, you may say, what can we do about that, Thad? So we can use natural stones. That's why I wear this necklace, for one reason, is it protects me naturally from the EMFs, the electromagnetic frequencies. And this is a stone right here, this black medallion is called shungite, and that's very good for protecting us from electromagnetic frequencies. And also there's many other natural stones. I have some up here. There's one right here. Let me find it. There's one right here. This is called smoky quartz. This is smoky quartz. That's one that is good, you know. And then also this is a nice big cluster that I found of smoky quartz. You know, and so we have a lot of these natural stones that we have around our home that helps us to protect us from these frequencies and things like that. And you can also, you know, paint your walls with certain kind of things. You can wear clothing that have fibers in them, like wire fibers, like silver threads and copper threads to protect us. They make even beanies and caps. They make shirts. They make underwear and boxers. They make a lot of clothing now. And like I said, there's paint that you can paint the walls. There's fiber and cloth that you can line the walls, you know, like on the inside when you get the home built. You know, there's a lot of different things you can do. You can make Faraday cages. That's a word I don't know if you guys are familiar with, but it's called Faraday. It's pretty much a cage that you build around something. Like you can build that around like your meter, your power meter around the outside of your home. You can put that around the meter and it keeps it from coming into your home as bad. You know, there's many different things we can do to protect us from these electromagnetic frequencies. And so that's a whole nother story on the reason why our planet is becoming weaker with our immunity and our immune system. You know, so those are some of the things that I want to talk about in this part 1 that just explains like what's going on, why are we in this situation, who's more susceptible than others, and I'm going to go into part 2 now.